honestly go for it. Embrace who you are. Put yourself out there. Go and do that audition. Fall flat on your face. Allow yourself to make mistakes.
Welcome back, everyone, to HUMHR Career Insights. I am really excited today. My guest is Chiedza Rwodzi, Kissa. She's a multi-award-winning Zimbabwean actress, playwright, producer, and co-founder of Unshaded Arts, which is an international theatre company championing underrepresented voices. She holds a business degree from Regent University, London, trained at Mountview Academy of Theatre Arts, and further refined her craft at Juilliard in New York. Her work has earned multiple National Arts Merit Awards, international film accolades across Europe and the United States, and most recently, recognition at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival for her contribution to cross-cultural theatre and creative leadership, with a 2026 tour across China representing Zimbabwe on a global stage. Beyond performance, she co-founded Oceana Studios in Zimbabwe, a creative hub connecting local and international artists across disciplines. Chiedza, welcome to HUMHR Career Insights.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited. Thank you so much, Batje. How are you? How are you doing?
I'm very, very good. And yeah, I'm very happy to have you on HUMHR Career Insights, and I'm looking forward to our conversation. Chiedza, can you share with us your journey? What did you want to be when you grew up? We always ask that question, right? So I want to put you in that seat and say, what did you want to be when you grew up, and how did you end up becoming an artist, a actress, and award winner in theater?
Where do I start? Well, I originally wanted to be a doctor. I thought it would be good to save people, so I wanted to be a doctor, and then I went to high school and I fell in love with the arts. I fell in love with being on stage, and I remember I would audition for so many different things and I just would never be selected or chosen. So that gave me more of a drive to be like, oh my gosh, I need to be chosen. And then when I got my first role, it was a cameo role in school. I really enjoyed it. I loved it. I loved making people laugh. That was initially what I enjoyed doing, was just making people laugh. And then it kind of turned into something deeper, storytelling. I would write a lot of poetry that I would never tell people about. It would just poetry that was in my journal. And then I just fell in love with it more and more and more. And then afterwards I thought, I wonder if I could build a career through being an actress, because initially it was like, I want to be an actor. And then I auditioned to drama schools after high school, and I didn't get in. And I was so devastated. I remember being so devastated. And then I was like, you know what? Let me just do what my dad initially had said to me to do, which is, let's pursue business first. That's what my dad would always say. So he got his wish. So I pursued business, and I partially hated it when I was studying business, because it just didn't feel like something I really wanted to do. But actually being in London was amazing, because the arts in London are like a thing. So I was still able to go to the theatre, even though I wasn't pursuing what I really wanted to do, whilst pursuing my business degree. And then, after my business degree, I was like, okay, I'm going to try one more time. I'm going to only audition to 3 drama schools. If I get into one, then maybe this is meant to be. And then, I applied to 3 schools. And I got into Mountview Academy, and it just felt like fate. And the rest is history, really.
Yeah, I like what you say about your dad, right? And I want to lead on to a question about family. So this is not a traditional career in Africa. It's not a traditional career. Okay, maybe now it's changing a little bit. How did your family initially take the career that you had chosen, that she wants to be an actress, and yet she has options, right? You had options. You studied business,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
academically you were inclined. You could actually have been the doctor that you wanted to be. And you said your dad wanted you to pursue business first. How did that play out, and
Yes.
how is it now?
Whew, I think initially my parents were concerned, particularly my dad. I mean, my mom didn't show it. She was like super supportive, and my dad was a bit like, he was on the fence about it. But when I then pursued business, he was like, ooh, okay, maybe she's going to, stay in this lane. But like, overall, like they were both supportive in the end. Like I think when they saw the passion, they saw the drive, and my dad came to watch one of my shows when I was still in high school, and I happened to win Best Actress. So I think for him it was like, okay, maybe there's something there. And he actually enjoyed that show. So it took kind of him seeing me in my element, doing what I love, and then him being like, okay, maybe there's something in this. So, after my business degree, when I said to my dad, I really want to pursue, the arts, he was like, you know what, I support this. So yeah, eventually they got on the wagon. My mom was a lot more open. She was just like, you know what, girl, do what you love, and
In
then
the
my dad
end.
got there in the end.
So I want to talk a little bit about passion. Yeah, about passion, purpose, and linking that a little bit with sustainability, right? So is having passion
Right.
and having the talent to act. But in terms of sustainability, do you find that is a sustainable career to have?
I mean, I've been asked that question a lot, and it's fair, but I think like anything, everything is risky. I think it's just with the arts because, in Africa, it's not something that, a lot of parents see as an actual career choice. Then it's seen as, oh my gosh, this is so risky, but actually it's just as risky as like being a doctor, when you're on that operating table, it's risky, right? So I would say it is sustainable, but I think you have to be disciplined. And I think that's something I had to learn over time, because initially it was like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I'm so passionate. But in the end, I became more mature in my passion, if that makes sense. Like I was
Yeah.
still passionate, but I think then starting a business, it really teaches you that it's not just about passion. You can't rely on passion alone. There are other traits one must have to be able to create a sustainable creative career.
Okay. So you led right into that on the business aspect of it. You co-founded Unshaded Arts in 2018. So when did you
Yeah,
realize that, you're not
yeah.
just an artist and that you were actually building a business?
To be honest, I think for me, I stumbled into it, hey? I stumbled into it because it was going to watch shows with my friends and seeing the lack of representation of people of color, people like me, or seeing certain narratives being pushed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I didn't like that. It frustrated me a lot. I'm like, but like I want to see more nuanced characters. Like part of the reason why I started loving being an actor and stuff is also because of Angela Bassett. When she was in What's Love Got to Do with It, I fell in love with that because it was such a meaty character. And it's so funny because I watched that when I was like so young, but then that was like when the seeds were being planted. And like seeing such a meaty character and then like looking around and not really seeing those stories on stage. And I'm like, this is very frustrating. So that's how Unshaded Arts was birthed, really, is my friend and I having an equal passion of wanting to see underrepresented voices, on a platform in their own unique way, not as like beggars, but like, let's see our stories. Let's see our stories there on stage, So yeah, I would say that was really how Unshaded Arts was birthed. I stumbled kind of back into business in a way, creatively. So yeah.
How did your business degree help, or did it in any way?
It did. It did help. And I think I'm very grateful for that because there are certain things, especially when it comes to entrepreneurship, when it comes to like the accounts, when it comes to risk assessment and stuff, you don't realize that, oh, okay, everything I learned in my business degree was not for nothing. So it was good. It was actually good that I did my business degree actually when I look back But obviously in the moment, it's like, why am I doing this? But I'm very grateful. I'm so grateful, because that business mind really helped me in actually sustaining Unshaded Arts, because a lot of small businesses don't survive.
Yeah.
So I think it really helped a lot.
Yeah. Let's talk about that multi-talent and the multi-income streams. You produce, you write, you act,
Right.
and you even act as the lead actress, right? How do you balance the creative part of it and the CEO roles?
I would say it's seasonal. It's not every time I kind of need to put on the CEO hat, but it's seasonal. It's seasonal. There are times where the CEO hat is needed. And I think they sort of interchange each other. I feel like my CEO role informs a lot of the creative things that I do, and vice versa. So a lot of the decisions I make, because I'm a creative entrepreneur, and a lot of my entrepreneurship is within creativity, like it is within producing shows. You know what I mean?
Yes,
I feel like they inform each other. They do inform each other, because there's certain CEO traits I need within my creativity, and also within being a CEO, you need to be creative.
Yeah.
So I think they marry quite well. They marry quite well. It's just about knowing, like, project by project. So it will look differently. So for example, for Strangers, because I have a producer sort of element as well, and I have to play that role, the show has to happen. So you'll find that, like, at times I'm so obsessed with, like, making sure the show is good, and then I have to tell myself, okay, Chiedza, you actually need to learn the lines and get on stage. So then I also then give myself that time, which is why I'm so happy that I didn't direct the show, because then, my husband directed Strangers and Revelations. The UK one was co-directed with my husband and Hassan Gavaya, and then the Zimbabwe one was directed by my husband. So it's nice, because then they can say to me, okay, enough now. Thank you, producer. Thank you. We've secured the venue. We've got the ticket sales. Now it's your time to get into your actor element. You know what I mean? Or can the writer get out of the room? Sometimes when we are, working on a script, when we're working on the script for the show, it's like, no, we don't need the writer. Actually, we need the actor hat. So it's juggling. It's a lot of juggling, but you find a way to make it work, project by project. You find a way to make it work. You have to. I mean, there's no choice.
No choice.
Yeah.
So, can you tell me about Strangers? That's the show that you won awards for. Can you tell us about it? How did you write it? And tell us about Strangers and how it came about.
Strangers and Revelations. Strangers and Revelations. Again, I'm so grateful for our company, Unshaded Arts, because actually we had these short writing events where you get to explore a piece of work. That's actually how my writing kind of began, because initially I was just like, no, I want to be an actor. But I think, like, the more you act and the more you want to see those stories and you're not seeing them, you're like, you know what, I may as well grab the pen and write it myself. So it started off that way. It started off like a 15-minute short play that was part of a writing event that Unshaded Arts held. And then I developed it a lot more after that event. And then we took it to Kenya and then got some feedback from that. I loved taking it to Kenya. The people were just so lovely and so welcoming. And then, managed to get some feedback from that as well. And then, took it to Edinburgh. I was very nervous because it's my debut, full-length play. I've written short plays, but this was my first full-length play, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I felt so uncomfortable. I felt so vulnerable as well, because I'm like, is this going to make sense? Because it is an African story. It's about Zodwa and Malcolm, and they're these characters born in Zimbabwe but living in the UK, and they're experiencing life, and they have their traumas, they have their shared grief. And I also added some African myths there, because I'm so intrigued by African mythology. I think we need to know more of those stories. So I blended in an African myth there, and there's just a lot that goes on in that play. It's a lot. So I wasn't sure how it was going to be received, but it was really lovely to actually see the show be received so positively by the people that watched it in Edinburgh. And it was even better now that we've staged it in Harare now. We've staged it at Harare International School. We're going to stage it again at Reps Theatre next month. And it's even better having Zimbabweans respond to the things that I've written, and I'm like, oh, okay, so it actually makes sense, So it's nice. It's honestly been a journey. It's been a journey, and it's been such a good one.
Well done. Congratulations. So many awards with
Thank you.
with something that you birthed, eh?
Thank you. Thank you.
And you act as Zodwa.
Yes.
Okay.
I act as Zodwa. And sorry, if I could just say, the dream wasn't to act as Zodwa, actually, when we wanted to take it to Edinburgh. So there were two reasons why I acted as Zodwa. The first reason was my friend Hassan, my friend that I co-founded the company with, he was like, no, you have to play Zodwa. He was like, no, you can totally play this role. And Zodwa is a lot different from you, so it'll be nice to actually see you be challenged in that way. You have to play Zodwa. This is your debut play. You must do it. So I was like, okay. And then the second reason was that, oh my goodness, taking a show to Edinburgh, it's a lot of work and a lot of money. So that was the other reason, was how do we cut down on our costs? Because we needed a Malcolm. How do we cut down on costs as well? So, okay. Let me play Zodwa. But the intention really is I would love another person to play Zodwa. So at some point I am going to cast Zodwa. And I'm excited about that. I'm excited as a writer to just see my work and just to see what I can work on, if there are new interesting discoveries. Because I feel it's kind of hard sometimes when you're in it to really see, the places you could work on, or the places that, I don't know, could actually give you a surge of inspiration for something else, So yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah. Can you tell us about that experience, Chiedza? Because, you mentioned that it's really nice to cast the play now in Zimbabwe and see how Zimbabweans are reacting positively to it. Can you tell us about the experience of being a young African woman in the diaspora and being on stage, right? Being on stage to really represent your country, represent your heritage. How has that experience been, and would you change anything?
You know what? I think performing it in Zim was a lot more pressure. You know what I mean? It was actually a lot more pressure, because I'm like, oh my gosh, like these are the people I've written about. Do you know what I mean? Like these characters, they've been influenced by my culture and where I come from. So there was a fear, and there was a vulnerability, but it's so nice that where the play, is where the play belongs, is where it fit the most. I had a friend, because she watched it in Edinburgh and she loved it. She absolutely loved it. But she also got to watch the Zimbabwean production, and she was like, there's something about the audience, because there were a lot more things that they laughed about because they understood it, and there was a lot more engagement, so that it felt so, I don't know, it felt like the audience was giving you a hug as you were performing. I don't know how to explain that, but it felt a lot more, I don't know, it felt fun and safe. It felt really fun. Like I really enjoyed both. I did enjoy both, but there's something surreal about performing on home soil with your people. It's nice. It's great. It's really nice.
So it's a little more understood in the culture that it represents.
Right. Yes. But funny enough, in Edinburgh there were certain themes that may not have been understood to that degree, but they still made sense.
Okay.
According to the feedback that I was receiving. So that's also great, because ultimately the emotions and their themes that cross every single culture. We all experience grief.
Yes.
We all experience trauma. My trauma might be different to your trauma, but we all have a basis of understanding of certain themes and certain things that happen to us, because we're human beings.
I do remember reading somewhere a sign that said suffering is universal.
Exactly. There's so many universal themes. So true. Love that.
I want to shift our attention a little bit, Chiedza, to what the future and AI technology and how that affects the work that you do, your creativity, right? So now we have a lot of AI creating stuff. There's AI creating plays, creating songs, and then there's the human element. How has that affected the work you do, and what do you think about AI and the future in the arts?
Sorry, that you just made me think of something that made me laugh so much, because my husband has, like, there's an artist my husband was obsessed with, but now we don't know if it's AI. So there's speculation. So we don't actually know. So it just made me laugh to think about that. It made me laugh so much. So we're still on the hunt. We're not sure. We're like, anyway. Yeah,
we
don't
never know these days. Right? We never know what's real, what's AI generated.
Yeah, exactly. Which is why I think that's why I just love theater so much. I mean, I love film as well. I'm into films. I do films. But there's something special about the stage, because that can't be... Listen, you can't get a robot to replicate an emotion, right? You can't... There's a silence... There's a slowness that theater brings that you just can't replicate that. So I think I do understand the concerns. I do understand the concerns with AI, but I think using it as sort of something that can support your work really, is good. So for example, no creative really enjoys doing a business plan, right? Or, there are certain technical aspects, right, of what we do that's not so fun. So I feel like that's how we can use AI. We can use AI in ways that, in the things that we don't necessarily enjoy doing. And then when it comes to the more creative things, right, we can keep that raw, we can keep that authentic.
Yeah.
So I think it's just about how you use it. It's just about, and not being short-sighted, because it's not, listen, the digital age is just, it's changing, and it's not going anywhere, but we can use it to support the work that we want to do. And I think the other thing with AI is AI does not have divine intelligence. So AI can generate content, but there's a divine element that AI does not have. So for me when I'm creating, I'm inspired by different things. I'm inspired by the things that I see. I'm inspired by people, but I'm also inspired by things that are downloaded. I'm a Christian, so things that God downloads to me. So I feel like there's a divine intelligence that AI does not have. So I don't think we need to fear it. I think we need to just find ways of using it in a way that's healthy.
Maintaining that balance and ensuring that it doesn't replace us, which it can't, like you're saying. It can certainly not.
Exactly.
It can certainly not replace the divine. It cannot replace the spiritual.
Exactly.
So you mention your Christianity. Does that in any way your faith? Does that in any way play into your writings, your poetry, your acting?
Yes. So there's a quote, one of my favorite authors, his name's Erwin McManus. And in The Artisan Soul, he says, with creative freedom comes creative responsibility. And that's something I've never forgotten, because it resonated so deeply with me. So I feel with the things that I create, yes, I've been given freedom. My faith allows me to have so much freedom. I can literally write anything. But I think what my faith does, it helps me to narrow down on being sensitive with the times, on being sensitive to what I need to write about, because art reflects what's happening today. Creativity reflects so much, and so that's how I use my faith, and that's how I sometimes I could be sitting down and something is just sort of downloaded, and I'm like, okay, I need to write about this, so it's helped me. My spirituality has helped me to be sensitive to the times and to know sort of what I need to talk about, what are the things that are important right now. So there's so many projects. When you're an artist, you have so many projects. You have so many different projects, so many different things. But knowing when it's the right time to have that play, to have that film, I have so many projects that are shelved. The responsibility was to create maybe in that moment, but not for right now. So I think how my spirituality has really helped me is knowing and to be sensitive to the seasons and the times.
I like that, being sensitive to the seasons and the times. And the times are in social media. Have you found the noise in social media, Chiedza? Of course, the generation slightly different, right? But in your generation, are you
Gen
finding
Zs.
that noise? Yes.
We love you guys. We love you guys. Yeah. There's a lot going on.
Yes, there's a lot. It's very noisy to us. Now, for you, do you find, are you thriving in it? Or is there competition, right? Because content creators can just go viral overnight, right? And you are in the slowness of theater, which is beautiful in its right. But is there competition with that noise? Is the competition with that viral overnight industry?
It's competitive. Let's not lie. There is a lot of competition. There's a lot of competition now. But one thing I'll say though is, being viral, you can be viral today and then tomorrow it's like back to factory settings, right? And I think like what we need to realize with going viral, right, is, are you building something that lasts? I think that for me is the most important thing. Is when you look at yourself, it's very tempting to look on the other side and be like, oh my gosh, it's not fair. Like this person went viral overnight and I'm still here, I'm still doing this. But I think going back to the why, that's what grounds me personally. Why am I doing this? Why am I in this career? Why am I pursuing what I'm pursuing? Because it's bigger than myself. So I think it's finding ways to allow what's happening in the world to support what you're doing. So for me, with the way digital marketing is just everything social media so fast paced. I don't want to lie, like I'm not a social media person, but it's forced me to be. It's forced me just for visibility. So, for people to know about my show, I would be foolish not to have some sort of digital marketing experience because my market is there too. Do you know what I mean? Young people are there. They're watching things, So I think it's helped me to also be aware and to know that actually, if I also want my work to progress, there are people that are on social media. So visibility, I think that's one thing that it's given. Social media has given so much visibility, which is great, which is amazing. But I think one thing to realize, I think for myself as a creative, it's I've had to remind myself that it's great if something goes viral that I post, but that's not the end game. I'm here to build something that's authentic, something that's real, and trust me, people are looking for something that's real and true, even if they don't realize it. So it's okay to play the long game. It's okay to play the long game. Just play the game. You know what I mean? Like play the game, but don't allow yourself to get on this hype of like viral content and stuff, because you can go viral, but then what happens after that? Then it's like a firework and then it's darkness. So it's understanding that you can work with social media and what's happening, but also understand that there's more to you. Like be a person of depth. Don't just be a person of trends, because trends come and go, but legacy is forever.
I like that depth versus the algorithm, right? Leave the algorithm to do what it does, but you certainly want depth. So if a young African creative is starting today in this AI-driven world, what would be your one advice?
I would say definitely understand digital marketing, understand content creation. That's super important, I would say. And then I think the other thing I would say is slow down, because the world is actually going very fast. The world is going very, very fast.
Yes.
So you need to slow down to understand what's happening, especially as an entrepreneur or as someone who wants to start a business. Slow down, because actually it's in the slowing down that you understand and you see the problem. I believe the businesses that last are the ones that are actually solving a problem, right? So evaluate and actually see what's around you and see what the problems are. Slow down. Slow down, because I think the world that we're living in, it's like, no, do this now, do this. No. Actually slow down and see what's happening.
Yeah. So digital understanding the digital world is a
Yes.
skill that you must develop beyond your talent to remain competitive.
Yes. And it helps a lot to do a lot of part-time work, consulting brands, talking to other businesses and supporting them in their marketing strategies. It's an extra tool that I feel like you shouldn't kind of do away with. If the opportunity is there, why not upskill? Upskill in the digital age. Because that's where, the industry is growing. It's growing so fast,
Okay, Chiedza, we're going to take a short break, a water break, and we'll be right back. This episode is brought to you by HUMHR, the boutique career and leadership consultancy helping professionals get clear, get confident, and get hired. From CV writing and Clifton Strengths coaching to interview prep and leadership development, HUMHR is here to help you take the next step in your career. Visit humhr.org, HUMHR.org to learn more. Welcome back, everyone. We just took a short break, and I'm having a conversation with Chiedza Rwodzi, Kissa, a young African creative entrepreneur. She's an actress and she's a poet. And we're talking now about Africa Rising. Chiedza, there's a lot of conversation about Africa Rising. From your experience in the global arts space, is Africa rising in the creative economy?
You know what? I definitely think Africa is rising. It is rising. And I see it a lot. Going to Kenya, going to Uganda, South Africa, you see Africa rising, especially in the context of the creative world, the creative economy, the festivals. There's a lot of capital being injected in, creative projects, which is amazing. I do, however, feel like there is still a lot of work to be done. When I think about Zimbabwe, there are things that are changing. So the National Arts Council, shout out to you, like they're doing the work, of lowering the registration fees and stuff. That's something that's happened this year, which is really great. So it's affording a lot more people to come in and be part of the conversation. But I do feel infrastructure is still an issue. I think for me, what burdens me is, and I would really love to encourage our government to have a national theater, for example. Having a national theater would be so big, like actually seeing that the creative economy can bring in tourism, can bring in a lot of, can raise the GDP. These are things that we're seeing in Europe. When I look at the Art Council in the UK, they're a funding body, a government organization that actually funds projects, different projects, and it's no wonder that billions of dollars are coming into the country all because of the arts. So I feel like there's an education that has to be ongoing of seeing the arts as merely not just a hobby, but actually something that can inject and bring in a lot of revenue into the country, So we still have work. We do still have work. I personally, like I said, it would be such a dream to have a national theater in this country, because there is a wealth of talent and having the National Theatre, having more funding opportunities, having ways of distributing your art and having ways of, exposing it, I think is something that's really going to benefit not just the arts, but the country, So Africa is rising. The talent is there. We see it all around. There's so many different artists making waves, across the globe. But what does it mean if I can't come back to my country and really utilize my gift to the fullest, So infrastructure, funding, support, and, there's still a lot of work, I would say, especially pertaining to theatre. There's still a lot of work to be done, which is part of the reason I started Oceana Studios, is the infrastructure. There's a lot of work to be done in that sector.
Can you tell us a little bit more about Oceana Studios?
So Oceana was birthed from, again, seeing a problem and trying to be part of the solution. It's a hub. It's a creative hub that brings local and international artists together. We are very big on doing productions. We're big on doing workshops to equip young people to find their artistic voice. So we do different workshops. We're going to have a workshop actually coming up in March, which is about storytelling for young people, building confidence And we also have a community initiative and community aspect towards what we do. So we are working with Rama Sports Academy. This is an organization that helps young people to play sport and to not be involved in drugs and early child marriages. So yeah, we're working with them in Chitungwiza. So we are bringing the creative element to it. So we do creative workshops, and they have the sport element, and we're bringing in the creative element of it, because Chitungwiza is where we have a real drug issue. And we're really passionate about helping young people to really be focused on other things. Part of the reason why young people take drugs, particularly in Zimbabwe, is, because they don't have a job or because they're feeling pressures from home. So if there's a way we can alleviate that, through the workshops, through creativity, and through potentially what we want to do is not just having workshops that are creative, but also equipping young people to be able to apply for jobs, connecting them with other businesses.
Yes.
So essentially that's what Oceana does.
Oh, I love that. And it's seeing the problem, right? But not just looking at it and saying, what are we to do? Throwing your hands up in the air, but actually doing something to try and solve that problem. And I love the work that Oceana Studios does. I particularly like storytelling, and you love storytelling too. You're a storyteller. What needs to happen for African creatives in your mind, right? I think you're the perfect person to answer this question, because you're a Zimbabwean, you studied in London, you've studied in New York, and you've taken your play through Africa. So what do you think African creatives need to do to compete globally without losing that authenticity, our stories?
Remember who you are. Remember who you are, because the world is going to continue dictating who you are. Remember who you are. Like, don't forget who you are. That's a very important, I think for me, that's the most important thing, because it's important for you to create from a place of knowing, I was having this conversation with a friend of mine, and she was saying a lot of Nigerians are actually, a lot of Nigerians are doing amazing, especially when it comes to, theater, when it comes to film. And that's because there's a strong sense of identity. It's important to know who you are. And I do feel there's a decolonization. I think one of our biggest hurdles as artists and just as people in general in Africa is there's a decolonization that has to happen in the mind. We still suffer an identity crisis. And I think it's important to go back to that and say, you know what, I actually, as I am, I'm enough. As I am, I'm enough. I don't have to sound American. I don't have to sound, actually let me embrace yourself, embrace who you are. It's not a bad thing to pick up certain things from other countries and other places. That's okay. But the most important thing is for you to remember who you are and where you came from, because then you can operate from a strong place of identity and knowing. And then you're authentic. You're authentic because what Africa brings to the table is story richness. Like, we are so rich in culture. And we don't want to lose that, right? Like, we don't want to lose that. People travel. Zimbabwe was Forbes' top destination for tourism. People travel to come to us. Why? Because we're rich in culture. We're rich in story. Let's not lose that. Let's not lose that. Yeah.
Yes. I love it. The richness of, when you go back to how, when you growing up, the stories, you were always being told stories, right? Yeah. And it was a thing. Yes. It was a thing to be told the stories.
Oh, it was such a thing. Yes. Gogo put you on her lap, and then she'll tell you Ngano. You know what I mean? You don't lose that. Like, that's amazing.
Yes, absolutely. Have you used that, or has that fed into how you tell stories, how you write your plays? Did it feed in any way to Strangers and Revelations?
Oh, yes, it definitely has. It definitely has a lot. And, I weave in African mythology because particularly, the myth I've included in Strangers and Revelations is actually based on a myth about the Nyami Nyami. And, that's a Zimbabwean authentic African myth. And I'm inspired by the people I see, how I grew up, all these characters, and the lady next door, all of these things. I'm inspired by that because we are so rich in culture. So there's no way I can write about other things. For me, like I enjoy writing about my people.
Chiedza, something has just come to thought in that you do both theater and film. Has there ever been a conflict between the two, and also just in terms of the ecosystem in Africa, ecosystem in Zimbabwe, which one of the two does the ecosystem support the most?
Ooh, that's a very good question, actually. I would say the challenges are the same. And I think, I haven't had the best experiences when it comes to film in the country. And I would say you find really, positive people, but then you also find people who want to compete. And I think I find that quite sad, because I think there's space for everyone. You know what I mean? We're already fighting with the infrastructure that's quite brittle. So I think for me, I would really challenge us as Zimbabweans to work together. You know what I mean? Like, it's not about, like, we can all eat, we can all shine. We can all shine. I think there's a lot of sort of competition, especially pertaining to film, where people will turn around and say, no, this is my credit. No, this is, and it's, it's so sad, because it stifles the work. It really stifles the work. I think if we actually work together, especially pertaining to, unique projects, because we're so rich in story, it would be amazing. Because in film, it's the same thing. Like, funding opportunities are very low. It's very hard. It costs a lot of money. So we need each other. If there's one thing I should say, like, as creatives, we really do need each other, and we need to serve one another.
Yes. That competition versus collaboration, I have found the collaboration really works so much more to grow each one of us. There's enough space around the table. Yeah.
And I'm not a fan of tokenism. I don't know. I don't like that idea. I think we can all sit on the table and eat. There's no need for one person to be elevated, and we can all shine. We're all unique in our own creative abilities.
You've alluded to this, but what would you say are the biggest structural challenges? Funding, infrastructure, policy, distribution, or perception? This is specifically in Africa.
I would say infrastructure. Yeah, we really need our government to be a lot more committed. They are committed, but I think there's way more that can be done. The example I was giving you about, having a national theater, or having more creative funds, and it's not charity, it's actually empowering. It's empowering creatives to know that, maybe if I took out a loan and there's, there are lower rates for me, and there's easier access. You know what I mean? I think there's definitely need for those structural changes, because the talent is there. The talent is there. If you look around, the talent is there, but there is no infrastructure to support that talent. We need more.
Okay. Chiedza, what are the things in Africa, you could even be specific and say in Zimbabwe, right, that actually support your journey, or that have actually supported your journey?
Community. Having people around you. I think sometimes when you're in the diaspora, it's so hard to connect. It's so hard, like, just to see your friends. Okay, let's set a date for next month in on the 30th. But like, when you're home, no, I'm not feeling okay. Someone's gonna drive, or like, I'm gonna go to the village. You know what I mean? I'm gonna sit with Gogo, and we're gonna eat. We're gonna eat masau. We're gonna be okay. Do you know what I mean? Like, that strong community, the culture really supports. And I would say in Africa as well, it's the festivals. Oh my gosh, the festivals. I mean, that's where Strangers and Revelations was birthed. Like, it grew a lot more through going to Kenya, because they selected me. They believed in me. They believed in Kenya International Theatre Festival. They believed in the work, and they invited me to come. And they really took care of us. They fed us. They made sure we had a place to stay. Uganda as well. I went to KITF. That was I took my first short play there. So, festivals as well. Oh my goodness. Festivals are. And I know in Zimbabwe, they have Mitambo Festival as well. They have a couple of other festivals. And those are the things that really also have supported. They've supported my career.
Yeah. Chiedza, I love that. You said community 3 times, and I felt it. It resonated with me.
Sorry. I didn't even realize I was saying it so many times, but it's actually yeah. I don't know. I can't say it enough. Oh my goodness.
It resonated.
I can't stress just how much. Community.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
That support system is just something that is a common thread to anybody, any support system, any career, in fact, just in life, that support system is the biggest thing. Is the biggest thing between success and failure. Really, that support system, the community is so important, and for sure you cannot say that enough. Chiedza, I am so grateful for your time today, and as we come to the end of our time, there's some questions that I like to do, fire round questions. They're just for fun. Okay, so here we go. Fire round. Art or business?
Ooh, art.
London or Harare?
Harare.
Stability or freedom?
Freedom.
Grants or ticket sales?
Ticket sales.
Write or perform?
Oh, you're putting me on the spot here. You really are. But right.
I could see that conflict there. You seem to have a passion about both of them.
I know. But I think I rationalized. I was like, okay, if I can write, then I probably can perform. So yeah, that's how I reasoned in my mind.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your time. Let's just conclude our conversation.
My gosh. Thank you for having me.
Legacy. Yeah. Can we I'd like to conclude our conversation with some legacy questions. The first one being, if you could talk to 13-year-old, I usually say 25-year-old because I'm usually talking to older people, and I've made a deliberate effort to say let me speak to the young people. Yeah, so I'm having to
I'm not that young. I mean, young people say I'm old, so but I feel young at heart.
Okay. So if you could talk to, let's say, 21-year-old Chiedza, what would you say to her?
I would say be a lot less fearless. Honestly, go for it. Don't keep so many ideas in your mind.
Yeah.
You're better off just do it. Because honestly, people may look at you and judge you, but deep down inside they are actually inspired because you're actually trying. Now I don't care. I feel like the older you grow, you just don't care about a lot of things you used to care about in your 20s. And I would just say go for it. Just do it. Make that application. Put yourself out there. Go and do that audition. Fall flat on your face. Allow yourself to make mistakes. You know what I mean? Go for it.
I like that. Go for it. Chiedza, I am grateful for your time today. I think that is the perfect ending to our conversation. Go for it. To our listeners, thank you for joining us today. We do not take this for granted. I don't take it for granted that through the noise, you decided to watch this. You decided to listen to my conversation with Chiedza. Thank you. And until next time, stay inspired.